Are you a runner? Or more importantly, do you want to become one? Do you want to know where to begin or how to get better? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Run Amazing Utah, where runners of Utah share their inspirational stories of how they conquered their battles, reached their goals, and overcame the seemingly impossible. If they can do it, so can you.
What if you could? Reach that big dream that you've always dreamt about. Maybe you think it's impossible. Maybe others have told you it's impossible. Maybe it's your body that's holding you back. Maybe you feel like you've aged or it will never be well enough to do what you want it to do. Well, guess what? That's not true. At Body Smart, we empower you and teach you how to make changes toward the kind of life you want to live and give you the tools you need to reach that goal you've always wanted to reach. From running your first mile to qualifying for Boston, we have everything you need to reach that dream. Call us at 801-479-4471 or contact us through our website, bodysmartutah.com. We can help you maximize your performance and stay on the road. Let us help you reach that dream. Hi, welcome to Run Amazing Utah. I'm Melody. We have Dr. Cameron Garber with us, and today we're interviewing Jesse Rich with Forward Progressions, and he is a running coach and a nutritionist. So we're really excited to have him here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah good.
And in conjunction with that, he's also a pretty amazing runner himself. So with his run coaching, he also has won a couple of pretty big events. One in my own backyard, so the Wasatch 100. He's taken second and then won first the next year. That's pretty impressive. That's a tough race with a ton of climbing. So
that's awesome.
Some awesome stuff. Glad to have you with us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your running past. How did you get into running, becoming, and especially, so you're a pretty young guy to have won ultras, let alone compete in ultras. How'd you get into it so young?
Yeah, so I started when I was about 22. My older brother was into it and took me out, and he's like, you're actually pretty good for just starting. You should take it more seriously.
No previous running experience?
No,
not in high school?
I played a lot of sports in high school, but I didn't run cross country or track or anything like that.
What was your sport of choice?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I've played 6 in high school. Okay. So to pick one.
Official high school team sport, huh?
Yeah, hockey, rugby, lacrosse. I'd probably say rugby.
Your bedroom probably still has the smell of your hockey gear.
Yeah. I had to sell it. I'm surprised they even bought it from me because it smells so bad, but I got some money out of my hockey
gear. Is just
it's
nasty.
Disgusting. Yeah, for sure.
That's funny. So interesting that your love of all sport, it sounds like, kind of tailed into running at some point.
Yeah. I just feel like a lot of people, once they graduate high school, they're way into sports. A lot of people, unfortunately, are just like, well, I don't have a team sport anymore, and can often just kind of let their health go. And my brother was into trail running, and again, he's the one who sparked that passion, and I'm really glad he did, or else I may be one of those people who's just like, oh, I don't have team sports now. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
So luckily, I found it, loved it, and have been pretty consistent in it since then.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask how old you are now? So how long have you been ultra running?
Yeah, so this will be my 9th year. I'm 31 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started when I was around 22.
Okay, awesome. And then what year did you do the Wasatch 100?
So 2017, placed second, and then went back in 18 and won it that year. So.
Wow. Okay.
What other races have you done?
Oh man, at this point I've done about 20 ultras, ranging
cool.
from just in Utah to around the country to around the world. I've actually been able to run in France.
Oh, cool.
There's it's called UTMB. It's kind of the Super Bowl of ultra running, and I did the 100K event there. So
Cool.
that was really fun.
Yeah, UTMB is a cool event.
Everyone around you is from a different country. You just give nods because everyone's speaking different languages. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And just the environment of Chamonix. I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably my favorite city I've been to.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Beautiful.
That's very cool.
To be able to travel and run, I mean, it's almost a good reason to travel. It's like, hey, where's a race I can go to see somewhere new? Sign up, and then you make a little travel plan, and you get to experience it in the mountains and both kind of the city vibe while you're on vacation. So
yeah, that's
pretty
perfect.
Sweet.
So vacationing, that's my favorite thing to do anyway. So like my wife and I, when we go to a new city, we like go run the city to find out what we want to do or see or whatever. Because we're not very touristy. Like I don't do that.
Yeah.
And so we'll like in Washington D.C. I think we did like 17 miles one day.
Nice.
Seeing all the different things and
it's the best way to see
places. I love it. And we could see everything so fast because you didn't have to wait in the lines. And anyway, it was perfect.
That's where running is great.
Right. Oh, I love it. So that's to go tour a new city. It's such a fun way, but to tour it like as in an official race and like have that be the reason why you go, so that there's like it gives you a purpose for traveling and sticking with the travel plans. That's awesome. I love. That's a good game plan.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Got to convince my wife.
And now there's a kid in the mix, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna set up. It's harder to make the schedule, but it's like you can get that still 2 in 1.
Yeah,
you know, you're still on vacation, enjoying some relaxing time.
Yeah,
while I'm suffering in the mountains.
Right.
So yeah.
So your wife's pretty on board and supportive with it all.
For sure. Yeah, luckily, and she's actually from France, so when we go, it's like easy to schedule races in Europe. So I just go once a year in the summer to race in Europe, and the races there are insanely difficult. They're really really mountainous and in the Alps, you know. So it's really fun. It's like, so again, it's a 2 in 1. We visit her family, and then we get to go experience the mountains.
That's awesome. So then she can help translate for you too.
Yeah. Exactly.
When you have a home base, that probably makes it a little bit cheaper to travel and stuff like that.
For sure. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Darn, didn't think about that.
Yeah, she's in Marseille, which is in the south, so it's only like 3-4 hours to get up to the Alps.
Oh,
so,
wow. Yeah, that's
nice.
cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fun. So, when you first started, did you you mentioned that your brother said, "Oh man, you're pretty good," you know. Did you realize that this was something you were going to actually compete in, or did you just think, "Oh, I'll do it for enjoyment and whatever"?
No way. Yeah, I mean, I remember like in rugby in high school, they're like, okay, if you can run 2 miles a day to stay conditioned, that's great. And I just remember how dreadful that was.
Isn't that funny?
Know?
Yeah.
Like I hated road running. I got the side ache. I had a hard time breathing. My legs hurt for just 2 miles. And so I never would have imagined that, you know, I'd get up to 100 miles. But the body adapts, you know, if you stay consistent at something, you can do a lot of cool things. So
and you catch that running bug, right?
Yeah,
and then you just gotta
that's
go
it
further
too.
and further and further.
Right.
So we do a video series called Common Running Mistakes, and one of our episodes was on how in traditional sports, like team sports, they use running as a punishment, and how that discourages people from like liking running. Do you feel like that was part of it? That running in your mind was more of a punishment than it was like an enjoyable thing?
I agree with that for sure. And also, just compared to other sports, it just didn't seem as entertaining. It's just like, I'm just running. Whereas other sports, I can run and do something else. And I still kind of have a hard time with road running. But when I'm in the mountains, I am entertained.
I'm the same way.
Seeing views, I'm seeing different scenery. It's uphill, downhill. It's always entertaining. But running for me at the beginning was like, oh, just run on flat and go through street lights. And it just never was really that interesting to me. So I think, the entertainment component is what drove me to it.
Cool.
So, yeah.
I totally agree. Whenever I run on the road, like I do it, and I've run marathons and stuff like that. But I definitely kind of get this feeling of like, well, I started here. I'm right back here. Like, at least with a trail run, I feel like I pick a destination or a route that I like, and I get cool views and stuff like that. So it's a little more motivating for me. So I do road run, but I prefer trail run as well.
It just feels like the miles kind of melt away too. You get distracted. Whereas like when you're seeing the street blocks, it's like, man, I've only gone this many miles. I don't know.
Right.
So,
Right. No, agreed. It's a lot easier to like keep checking your watch and like, oh my gosh, you know, haven't made it that far or whatever. So yeah, interesting. How would you say that running has kind of changed other aspects of your life?
Oh man. Yeah, now if I don't run, I really become way more grumpy and irritable. It's become like I really think that exercise is kind of the best medication there is. I mean, that should be the first thing you try if you're feeling down. If you're feeling like, you know, your mood's off. I mean, there's a clear science between, you know, exercise and mental health and physical health. So it's just been something that, you know, I feel like sometimes it can be an anxious person. And so when I go run, it just helps me relax and calm down and start my day. And I can work through all my thoughts while I'm on my run. And I come back home and I'm just more focused and I can do things a lot more efficiently. So it's not just like for fun. It's also like, it keeps me in check. It helps clear my mind. It has so many different benefits and just not just the exercise component, but the nature component too. I've always been into camping and outdoors with my family. Yeah. And so getting some time in nature away from everything else. I mean, it's just a combination of so many things that really fulfills me as a person. And like, whether I'm competing or not, I see myself doing it my whole life for those benefits.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
I think that's funny too, because a lot of people who aren't runners are like, running is relaxing, but it's so true. It's completely relaxing.
It is for sure.
Well, I think people assume that runners go out and run as hard as they can all the time. And that's one of the things with the ultra world that I love is like at those distances, you're not running as hard as you can the whole time.
Definitely not.
But you're running at a comfortable pace or sometimes an uncomfortably comfortable pace, right? But you're running at a pace that you enjoy and you just do it for a long period of time. But yeah, the whole point is to be able to keep doing it. So you don't run like super hard or super fast. It's not like you're out of breath the entire time. You find a pace that you can cruise with and you cruise and you get to where you're looking around and enjoying the scenery and like it's a fun experience.
Yeah, you're hiking fast.
Yeah,
that's how you start.
You're a
hiking
speed
fast.
hiker.
That's really what it is. Yeah, speed hiker. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, what are your takes on training? Like, how often do you run slow? How often do you run fast? How do you incorporate weight training into your routine?
Great question. Yeah. So I talked to Cameron a bit about this, about like the 80-20 rule. Like I do most of my runs really slow, and depending on the distance, you know, if I'm doing 50K, it's going to be some more workouts, some more speed work. But if I'm shooting for 100-mile, it's really about volume, like a lot of easy miles and just trying to get as much mileage I can per week. My strength training routine, it's different for everybody. And I also do that for my runners as well. Their strength training. But if I can just do a 10-minute routine every day, I'm set. And it addresses pretty much all, areas of my body, from simple push-ups. And I do think like a lot of body weight stuff is good. And a lot of people just have access to that. So yeah, I just do, a 10-minute routine as much as I can. And then if I can, once or twice a week, I'll get into a gym and actually kind of lift heavier. And it's nothing crazy. Again, I'm still shooting for an endurance type of workout. So I'm doing a lot of repetitions. But yeah, I'll throw some weights around once or twice a week if I can.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good balance. That's kind of what we recommend as well with our people. Like, strength training is such an important component for injury prevention and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't have to be like 45 minutes in the gym every single day type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, I like those short kind of punchy workouts that are total body. They hit all the things that we need to keep healthy and strong, and then get back to running so that you can run more, because that's the whole point of the whole thing.
Yeah. I do believe in a day off too.
Yeah.
Like
time.
6 days a week. I never do 7. I just feel like, perfect for me. Sundays are the day that I'm more with my family and we can just enjoy a relaxing day. I think that's crucial. If you're doing every day, you're obviously super passionate, but I do worry about burnout if you're doing 7 days a week.
Burnout, injury, all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I like a good day off just to allow your mind to get right. So, and you can make it an active day off. Go on a hike instead of a run, or go, be with your family, do something active, but like let go of running so that you're more eager to hit it again on Monday type of thing. Like that's, I totally agree with that. So Melody has been with her training. So she's run couple of 50s and 100.
Yeah, did our
Nice.
first 100 this year.
Sweet.
Yeah,
last
yeah,
year.
self-supported, which was
Yeah.
crazy.
So we actually
Oh,
we signed
wow.
up for the Ute 100, but it was
Uh-huh.
canceled. So it was me and
Uh-huh.
my husband who did it, and we mapped out a 50-mile loop up to the top of Ben Lomond and around Ben Lomond. And we
Wow.
did that twice. We had friends and family come
Uh-huh.
do aid stations for us. So
Sweet.
it was fun. It was an awesome experience. Everyone asked, "Would you do it again?" And my husband said, "No way." And I was like, "Heck yeah!"
Yeah.
So
And I mean, that's a whole nother level to do it on your own. That's amazing. Good job.
Yeah.
thanks.
It was
It was
crazy.
an experience. Yeah,
It was
Mark
fun.
and Cameron came and helped us out. They scraped
Sweet.
us and brought the compression boots. And
Yeah, it was fun.
ultra running it's awesome.
It was-
it's
Right.
awesome.
It was fun to like see the learning process of that all, and like, so I think they learned a few things in the first like
Mhm.
25 miles. They learned like what not to eat a little bit,
Uh-huh.
like his
Yeah,
family,
I'll ask you
because
about
it was family
nutrition.
supported, like they wanted to support, and they were so kind, and they brought like spaghetti carbonara and brownies and all this heavy food and stuff like that, and it looked good, and they were hungry, and so they ate it. And then I think it was like, oh wait, maybe this isn't the best choice, right? And so
Uh-huh.
it's
Yeah.
amazing how every run is such a learning experience.
Definitely.
So how do you help coach then on those nutritional aspects and stuff like that? What's kind of your philosophy? I know that's been like a struggle for you on the
Mhm.
recovery side of things, even
Yeah.
like how to make sure that you're eating enough and stuff. After that 100-mile effort,
Yeah.
like it took her a while to feel good again, right?
Yeah.
It took me
It-
months, like 3 or 4 months before
Oh,
I
wow.
felt normal again.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
And so like how do you, what's your philosophy on coaching somebody through that like both the competition phase as well as the recovery phase
Mhm.
on the nutritional aspects of things?
I'm excited to hear about
Yeah.
this.
So, I mean, I think the first rule of thumb is don't try something new on race day. Always try it first before race day. There are a lot of unexpected things that can happen, right? Aid stations don't always have what you want.
Yeah.
Like there can be aid stations where you do have to try something new, but just don't go overboard. Try something new if you have to, but don't have too much variety, I think, in each stop that you have. Keep it pretty simple, because when you're running, your blood is going away from your digestive system. Like
Yeah.
the shorter the distance, the more compromised your digestion is.
Mhm.
400s, you can eat some whole foods because there's it's not quite as intense, and you can digest a little bit better. But yeah, try your nutrition, dial it in your training beforehand.
Yeah.
Long runs, right? So I suggest eating, every half hour to every hour, 250 to 300 calories. That's a lot, right? And so how can you get that kind of food in when you're moving, whether it's gels or whatever? You got to get used to that. And that
Yeah.
was a mistake I made too. I mean, I had a huge learning curve, super steep learning curve myself. I had super bad issues in my first races, GI problems. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
actually what caused me to study nutrition. It's like, how can I combat this?
Interesting.
Yeah.
How can I get through this? Because this isn't working out. So
Yeah, it's not
finding-
fun to have bathroom issues
no,
on
it's
the
not.
trail.
It
Yeah.
just,
Especially
it's
when
just
you
the
have
worst.
60 miles to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst. It really is.
Yeah.
And so dialing it in and not really, like, I have recommendations and clean gels that people can try,
Yeah.
but everyone's different. Like, you got to understand, like, that's their advice. I need to figure out what works for me, what works for my stomach,
Yeah.
and try it out as much as I can in training so that when race day happens, I've got it dialed. I know I'm going to feel good.
Yeah.
This is my plan B. If there's something at the aid station I don't like in ultras, always, I learned this again from, the hard way, doing
Right.
it wrong. You should have a bag. If you can take drop bags,
Mhm.
do drop bags every chance you get, because
Yeah.
if the aid station doesn't have what you want the food that will work for you. So
Yeah.
drop bags every time you can. And recovery, like, unfortunately, especially after these hundreds, like you probably experienced, your stomach is messed up. Like
Yeah.
you've been putting food in, you've been running for so long, your GI system is just compromised. So
Yeah.
what I recommend is some sort of liquid nutrition that can give you calories and recovery.
Mm.
So something I recommend is like a Tailwind. They have a recovery like protein mix. So it's
Yeah.
electrolytes, sugars, and protein to get in your system right away. So
Mhm.
you do want to get stuff in right away, but solid
Mhm.
foods, and a lot of these races will have big dinners and stuff.
Yeah.
Like get something simple in first to kind of wake up your system, your GI system again, and get something that's easily absorbable. So liquid calories. And I even use Tailwind during races because liquid calories are just the easiest to digest.
Right. And to keep consuming.
Yeah, and it's not too sweet. You can just kind of keep it going.
Yeah, that's
gels can get old pretty fast.
Yeah, well, and some people like that sugar bomb that you get with some of the gels can really cause GI issues.
For sure.
Yeah.
And actually, I went to this really interesting event with the military where they do all of the military training programming. So where they design all of the programming that the rest of the military uses, and went and spoke about metabolic testing and stuff like that. But while I was there were several different companies that had hydration solutions. And so I got to talking with them about that. And they're like, a lot of the stuff that athletes take while they're training actually robs them of water. So because it has such a high osmolarity, it draws all the water from their body into their stomach to balance that out so that it can absorb it or whatever, right? And so that was their whole purpose, was finding more quickly absorbable, electrolytes, sugar, and water, so that you weren't robbing your body of water.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's another thing. You can actually dehydrate yourself a little bit by taking just straight sugar gel stuff.
Straight sugar, just straight water. I mean, it's a
right.
For these long runs, you got to have some electrolytes.
Right.
And it's cool because, research shows that those sugars and electrolytes work together synergistically. They help in the absorptions of each other. Caffeine can also help with the absorption of carbohydrates too. So just having a mix of all three and staying on top of hydration is crucial, because water's just not going to do it over the long run.
Right.
And that's another thing. I read a book and Dr. Tim Noakes, I'm not trying to dog on you, but Waterlogged is this book about the electrolytes were Gatorade was just totally propaganda and just to sell sugar water.
Right.
So I did a 50-mile without electrolytes, and I was chugging water and nothing was happening. I was just like,
oh my goodness.
I just wasn't absorbing it. And I was doing really well, second place, 10 miles from the finish. And I just was starting to okay, I'm not quenching my thirst. I don't know what's going on. And I was in Oregon, and I ended up just jumping in a waterfall and just desperately chugging water, and I just wasn't absorbing it. So as I'm getting past, people are like, are you all right? And I'm literally laying in a waterfall, just so dehydrated and messed up.
Yeah.
So close to the finish, and people are like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, just keep going. And someone gave me a salt tab, and I immediately came back to life. Yeah. And I'm like, sorry, Tim Noakes, maybe that can work for, marathons, but in the ultra run, you're not going to handle it without salt. It's just not.
Well, there's a happy balance there, right? So a lot of the time, for football players or whatever, the research on that is actually true, that a lot of your energy drinks, your sports drinks aren't, it's overkill. It's way too much, and it's too much sugar, too much salt for what you need. And it's not very absorbable. And so that's one of the things that we talked about with at that event that I was at. Is they're like, most of your sports drinks are way too much sugar, way too much salt. Yeah. For the needs of that, the demands of that specific activity.
Right.
But if you're running 100 miles, you need a lot of everything, and it's just how to deliver that best.
Exactly.
So it's interesting. Anything too extreme, I guess, is probably not a good idea.
Exactly.
Because the race itself is extreme enough.
Yeah. Good point. And everybody's needs for electrolyte and water is I actually have methods to determine that with clients.
Sweat rate and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So
that was another of the devices there.
Yeah, and understanding what that is for each individual is important, because you can also overdo the salt. You can go too extreme, like you said, and you don't want that either.
So that makes sense. So I'm curious about caffeine, because my husband and I had an experience on it was a self-supported 50, and Jacob was just chugging caffeine because it gave him energy. It tasted good. Lots of Dr. Pepper, right? And but he kept going to the bathroom. And by the end, we actually only ran 47 miles because he got really dehydrated and he got really, really sick. So I'm just curious, was caffeine the reason he was going to the bathroom so much?
It can have a diuretic effect, yes, and it can just get things moving faster. So it is possible, and Caffeine is very individual as well. Like there's a lot of genes involved in caffeine metabolism. So we all metabolize caffeine very differently. I personally know I don't handle caffeine well at all, like especially during a race. I have this surge of energy and an incredible like bonk later on. So it's different for everybody, but it does have a diuretic effect. So you don't want to overdo it. And what I do recommend is even if you tolerate caffeine well, you probably don't want to get on it until kind of the second half of the race, because once you start on caffeine, you kind of have to keep on that train, or else you do kind of feel low energy.
Do you caffeine much outside of running?
I don't.
Like soda, coffee, tea, nothing like that?
No coffee. I'm one of those weird people that absolutely hates coffee.
Okay.
I do like, it's a tea called mate. I have that sometimes.
Okay.
But I just, I don't really like caffeine much.
My theory is that caffeine is more effective for those that don't caffeine as much. When people caffeine a lot, then it doesn't have as great an effect.
That's a very good point, because when I don't drink caffeine in my daily life and go into a race, it has this extreme effect. So that totally makes sense.
But you may get more of a crash with it too. I don't know. It is a very individual thing, but I've seen that with people before, where I had one woman that I know that won the Bear Gutsman, and she had never taken caffeine, and she had a goo pack that had caffeine in it, like halfway through the race, quarter of the way through the race, and she was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!"
No,
she was able to win the race because she was like, "This is crazy."
Yeah, no, it's a performance enhancer for sure.
Yeah,
really
it's kind of crazy. Yeah, it was funny to hear her talk about it. She's like, "I never drink soda. I never have caffeine at all." And then I had that halfway through. Somebody just gave it to her before the race and was like, "Yeah, you might want to try these." And she's like, "Oh my gosh." So it was pretty funny.
Yeah. It's almost hard to find products that don't have it now, because and I as careful as I am, I seem to still get a hold of it in races sometimes at aid stations. It's like, what? Like, how can I? So I'm like, just like I kind of advised before, I almost try to never get aid station, the big 5-gallon water jugs. Like, you never know if there's caffeine, what product's in there. Really carrying your own stuff, I've learned definitely the hard way. Like, I'll feel good for a few minutes, and then I just am about to sleep. I want to sleep while I'm running. It's that bad for me when I do caffeine.
The crash.
The crash is so dramatic that I just can barely keep going. I just have to work through it and okay, no more caffeine.
Interesting. That's fascinating. But I have noticed that too, that people, once you take it, you kind of have to keep taking it.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that makes sense.
Marathon distance, not that big of a deal.
Right.
And you kind of want to take a nap afterwards anyway. But you can't take a nap halfway through a 100. Well, you can, but it's probably not good for your time.
You're going to feel real stiff when you get back up.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on beer? I know a lot of ultra runners drink beer when they're running. It kind of takes the edge off, right? What are your thoughts on
while
that?
they're running?
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. Never tried it while running.
Take the edge off.
I mean, it's a good carbohydrate source. I read a really funny book where someone was trying to use beer as fuel, and the carbonation didn't work out. They have something called the beer mile now, which is a challenge of who can go a mile the fastest by chugging a beer each lap. So 4 beers in a mile. I think the record's 5 minutes something. It's pretty impressive, but most people end up throwing up. So. I don't recommend beer if you're trying to run fast.
Right. Not much carbonation
too much carbonation. I've never hauled it in my pack or anything to have mid-run, but it sounds like a nice, pleasurable thing, to do it. But I obviously,
that's fun.
Beer in moderation, probably fine. Too much, you're going to dehydrate and disturb recovery.
Right.
But you're probably
kind of also a diuretic. Also,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's funny. I've never heard of that,
but it is really funny. Big in the ultra running community.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. Like before and afterward is a big
it's
deal,
huge,
right?
Yeah.
Or afterward more than anything, but
for sure.
Well, that here in Ogden, there's a group called the Pub Runners, and that's their whole thing is they go on a run and then hit up a local pub.
That's awesome.
It's a fun thing. They're a pretty funny group. So yeah. Well, so with your coaching, how do people get a hold of you? What's your website? Things like that. How would somebody, if they wanted to be coached by you, how would they?
Yeah, so Instagram, Jesse T. Rich. My website is forwardprogressions.com. There you can get an idea of what I do. Again, so I do running, nutrition, and strength, and I try to combine all three of them in one place so you don't have to spend a bunch of money going different places. Although I do recommend he's developing an awesome strength program.
Yeah. We should talk more about that, actually.
Yeah, so www.forwardprogressions.com, and you can see what I do. It's more of like a monthly membership, so it's month by month. And yeah, leading up to your races, I help with strategy. I help with a lot of things, not just the training, right? We work on a lot of different aspects of the sport. So yeah, check me out, and free 15-minute consultation to anybody interested on my website. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Instagram handle, same thing?
Jesse T. Rich.
Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
it's my Instagram, and check that out. I give kind of nutrition tips on my Instagram there too.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun to hear kind of your philosophy and more about your running and how you got into that and everything. So thanks so much. Join us on the next episode. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, all those good things so you can catch the next episode. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Run Amazing Utah. Remember, if they can do it, you can do it too. If you have an inspirational running story or know someone who does, we would love to feature you too. Contact us through our Instagram or Facebook, Run Amazing Utah.